Hello historians, and welcome to another Purple Shirt History. In this video, we'll look at the AS European option, liberalism and nationalism in Germany from 1815 to 1871. This will go over German unification in 1871, and it's a slow and steady process that starts with Napoleon actually, and will then go through some fits and starts, most notably through the revolutions of 1848. If you find this video useful at all, please just take 2 or 3 seconds to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out and lets other people see the video. And with that, please sit back, relax, grab a drink and your notebook, and let's learn about the process of German unification, which will lead to the German Empire of the Hohenzollerns. So Germany in the 19th century has a slow, steady process. There is no Germany. Let's start at square one. There's no such thing as Germany in 1815, where we're going to start this particular theme. But what we have is a collection of German-speaking states that Napoleon kind of unwittingly helped unify, which would cause France some problems in the future. So there was the Confederation of the Rhine. There was a few other modifications to the map of Europe that Napoleon made that indirectly started to get the ball rolling on German unification. One person that you need to know from this 1815 to 1848 time frame is Metternich. So the first thing you need to know about Metternich is he is an arch conservative. He does not want any reform. He's very afraid of another French Revolution with wars and all these things happening again. So he's going to be ultra conservative and try to block any kind of democracy or any kind of differentiation from absolute monarchy that he's been used to. After the Napoleonic Wars end, there's the Congress of Vienna, and Metternich is a major player for Austria there. Him and Talleyrand get together and say France should not be broken up. It is a major power, and the balance of power peace system that would last until World War I is pretty much set up at this Congress of Vienna by Metternich and the other diplomats. The problem was the French Revolution unleashed a lot of what was seen at the time as radical ideas of democracy and liberty and all these types of things. So the bourgeois, the growing middle class, the liberal classes, they want not to have this absolute monarchy, but they do want to have their own political representation. And it's going to take a few decades to ferment. So these seeds were planted by the French across Europe with these revolutionary ideals, but it would take a generation or two to really start to bear fruit and lead calls for political change. So the growth of nationalist ideas in many countries, not just France or Prussia or Austria, but Hungary, Italy, other places, they really start to demand new rights and freedoms and the end to this medieval absolute monarchy style of government that they've been living under. Social and economic problems mount up in the 1840s. We see the barricades going up across Europe in these revolutions of 1848. What you need to know about the revolutions of 1848 is that they failed. They did not really loosen the powers of the European monarchs that much. There was some progress, but I would say to a large extent, they were a failure. It's nicknamed the revolutions that did not turn. So whereas there was hope for parliamentary systems in these very conservative European states like Austria, all these ideas and plans were brushed aside. It led to a lot of discontent. A lot of people left for America who were really disillusioned by the lack of progress of these revolutions. And things kind of stayed the way they were for generations more to come. Initial responses of the German states to the revolutions of 1848-49. Let me just give you the two biggest and most important German-speaking states of this time period who are kind of jostling for the leadership role of the German-speaking world. It is Austria and Prussia. So these are the two states that are going to be even engaging in wars in the near future from this time over who is going to be the predominant German-speaking country. Traditionally, it was Austria, but Prussia was the rising power. It was more organized. It was more militarily capable. Austria was very old-fashioned. It was a multi-ethnic empire that was just worried about not falling apart, whereas Prussia was a bit more unified. The Frankfurt Parliament was disparagingly called the Parliament of Professors. These are the well-to-do, middle-class, bourgeois people that wanted to set up a parliamentary-style government, and it gets dissolved. It doesn't accomplish what it set out to, unifying Germany peacefully through agreement. That's not going to happen. We will see Germany united later, but it's through Bismarck, and his famous speech is the iron and blood speech. So this is a bit different way to put a country together than these very romantic ideals set forth by the Frankfurt Parliament. Austria it's a weird one. How can I go about talking about Austria? It's just frozen in time, to me at least. It's trying desperately to stay in the Middle Ages, kind of like France was during the Ancien regime. Austria, it's a powerful country in the 1700s and 1800s, but it's clearly on the downward slide. There's a downward trajectory to the power of Austria, and it'll be pretty much crushed by Prussia in the brief war that they fight in the 1860s. One of the reasons that Austria is on the downward slide is it did not join this thing called the Zollverein, which means customs union. So basically, it is a common trade area for unifying a lot of different areas of the German-speaking world. Before, it was nuts to be a trader or a business person in the German-speaking world. It seemed like every 5 kilometers you went, you had to pay another tax or toll or whatever. Weights and measurements were different. It was just absolutely terrible to do business. So once the Zollverein was put into place, it really made an economic impact on everybody that was included in it, most especially Prussia. With Austria out of this union and Prussia inside the union, it is a big advantage for Prussia going forward. Bismarck, what were Bismarck's intentions for Prussia in the 1860s? So in the 1850s, we see Austria still has the dominant role in the German-speaking world. The humiliation of Olmütz and these other aspects, the Großdeutschland, Kleindeutschland, talking about whether if there was a German unification to include Austria or not, was something that Austria was in a bit of a bind because, as mentioned before, many of the Austrian citizens, these people included Croatians, included Slovenes, included parts of Ukraine, and so on and so forth. So there was a lot of non-ethnic Germans in Austria, which would not fit neatly into the German nationalism theme of unifying Germany. He's very much a Prussian nationalist in my estimation, more than a German nationalist, but that can be argued. He was very much there doing things to increase Prussia's power and to unify Germany through a Prussian lens. So have the culture of Prussia be the dominant culture of this new German empire. Bismarck is a monarchist and a conservative. He does have the support of the upper classes, the Junkers and the Hohenzollerns, who are the royal family of Prussia. He's going to do a lot of very risky things, and it all kind of works out. It does unify Germany. Even within his lifetime, he'll be thrown out of office, but he's able to unify Germany through 3 wars, through wars with Denmark, wars with Austria, and then the big one is the Franco-Prussian War against France, which leads to the creation of the German Empire in 1781. It's very clever the way that he uses a territorial dispute in what is now the border region between Denmark and Germany, Schleswig-Holstein, to maneuver around Austria. Bismarck doesn't want to be seen as the aggressor, so you'll need to learn something called the Ems telegram. It goads France into war. There's a telegram that is sent and manipulated by Bismarck to sound kind of insulting, and the French aren't going to have any of that, so war is declared. After doing a few other things like creating the North German Confederation and other things that you'll learn about during the course, and when we do more specific videos on this, Prussia is really militarily superior to France due to technology in large part. So there's this thing called the needle gun, the small arms of the Prussians and the Germans. The tactics are also much more modern and outflank the French. And even they capture the president of France in a pocket in a town called Sedan. It's a humiliation for the French, and the German Empire is founded in Versailles. This is the beginning of the German Empire that will last from 1871 until 1918. Here's our recap. For context, know what happens between 1815 and 1848. That's a precursor for the revolutions of 1848 that do not really change the established order in Europe. The next thing you should know is the two major powers of the German-speaking world. The two heavyweights in this theme are Prussia and Austria. They're German-speaking countries that are quite different, to be honest, in many respects. Austria is Catholic and Prussia is Protestant, for example. Austria is a large multi-ethnic empire, where Prussia starts off as a small Baltic kingdom and continues to expand across North Germany. It's more militaristic, and there are other differences that will color each one of these states and lead to confrontation. The last part, the German Empire, it's intrinsically linked to Bismarck, so it's nice to do a study on Otto von Bismarck and see what he's all about, see the circumstances that led to the unification of Germany, see how Germany's creation upset the balance of power in Europe. It was a geopolitical bombshell. It totally changed all the power dynamics in Europe, so it's a must that you know that. Think about all of the things that have been discussed in this video and World War I. It's a sum total of many of these major topics in this theme: the Metternich system, balance of power politics, lack of liberalism and the failures of the revolutions of 1848, Bismarck and the way Germany was formed by fighting wars and having bitter relations with France thereafter. So all of these things come together and we'll see have a decisive impact in starting World War I.